Check it out. Let me tell you one.
Freedom for all!
What is up, my MMA brothers and sisters? Welcome to another episode. I am Raul. I have Roque Reyes. We're going to get to know him. He actually has a fight coming up in BELLATOR 172. In my opinion, actually, probably not only the biggest event maybe that they've ever done, or definitely the biggest event of the year, I would say, just because that main event is pretty darn big. But you have an incredible story that I want to take you back to, and we're leading into a fight that you're going to have February 18th. So let's just go back, and let me just at least ask you, where did martial arts, or how did you even get into it to begin with?
Before we start, what's up, everybody? All right, cool. So, it started back in, pretty much probably how every fighter in their 20s or 30s, pretty much the same. They saw UFC 1,
Yep.
Roque Reyes, Ken Shamrock. I think I was in middle school when it came out. So, I was very interested, and I wanted to be like Ken Shamrock because this dude was he was buff and he can whip some butt, and he was tearing it up in Japan.
He was like the first superstar, at least MMA wise. Like he was the first kind of guy. Royce was obviously very popular, but he was kind of the first well-rounded kind of fighter.
Yeah, well, he had. I mean, if you look back at Pancrase and back in the Japanese days, Boss was out there, Frank was out there, Guy Metzger was out there. There was a lot of stuff going on in Japan. MMA, what I would say was is relatable or relative to MMA now, it was going on in Japan years ago. But anyway, so that piqued my interest, and I was barely getting into high school, and I never did anything with it. It's just the idea of it. It was like, oh, that's cool, I want to do that one day, but I never thought I would do it.
Yeah.
And then I was 28 or 27, and I believe it was season 3 of The Ultimate Fighter, where Bisping and Josh Haynes were in the finale. Obviously Bisping won, but what really got me off the couch was Josh Haynes' story. He was a professional fighter, but he was married. He had a family. I think my son was just born. I wasn't married yet, but I might even been engaged at that time. To my son's mother.
You started relating with the guy.
Yeah, no, I really connected, on that level. But then what even, drew me even more to the connection was one of his kids had medical issues. So, if you're a parent, you're dealing with stuff that's, it's a lot to deal with when you have kids.
Sure.
But then to have one that has medical needs, and it's even a lot more stressful, time, money, whatever the case may be. But this dude was still a pro fighter. I'm like, man, if this guy can do it, I can at least get off my butt and try it. And I started really thinking about it. And, I didn't want to regret not trying, but also at the same time, I can use this example in my life whenever, I was thinking about my kids at the time, when they're at the point where they got to make a decision about something. Are they going to go left? Are they going to go right? Is it yes or is it no? And I can use this part of my life to talk with them, to help them make the decision, whatever it is, about doing something, about don't regret it, or no, let's look at the pros and the cons, just that whole kind of conversation you have with your kids, and even your friends, or if I end up being a mentor, which in a sense I am now, looking back in retrospect, and being that I've coached my son in soccer and the stuff I do at the dojo where I train at. But so being able to use this part of my life as an example, or to whoever it may be that might be going through something where they got to make a decision.
It's kind of like setting the example of, and what's interesting that you say that is me doing exactly what I'm doing here. I always say, I want to, for my kids, I have 2 kids, and and I'm gonna have to use this opportunity to shake your hand and say thank you. This is the coach of my girls that just started jiu-jitsu. They love it, and you do a great job. So thank you for that.
All
but
right.
and maybe this is what you're saying too, is I did it because it is my passion, and even though it's not your typical job, it's not like there's a paycheck waiting for you to do what your passion is. You know, you got to go out and go for it.
Right, yeah, and that's exactly it. You got to go for it. You know, whatever it is. You know, again, making the right decision. You know, and so, so it was Josh Haynes that really got me off the couch, and real cool thing. So back in the MySpace days, which some of you younger people might not know about, like MySpace for them is like AOL for us.
It's like the Facebook of today.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kind of, right?
It was.
You had your own page. You have music and whatever.
You can do a lot of stuff. Anyway, so I started training when I was 28. I'll be 39 in May. So back in the MySpace days, I had I found Josh Haynes, and I just sent him a quick message. Hey, I just wanted to let you know you really inspired me. Kind of poured out a little bit to him. And he was like, oh, thanks. He sent me back, thanks, but like it kind of stopped there. And then this Bellator thing came around, and I've never forgotten the impact his life had on me. And it basically is the catalyst or what triggered me to be where I'm at now.
Yeah.
But I was on Facebook, and like you got the people who the suggested friends that Facebook sets up free. Well, he popped up in my list. I was like, oh shoot, that's hella dope. So like I went to his page, and a friend requested him, and I sent him a little message like, hey, you might not remember, but back in MySpace I sent you this message. Yo, I just wanted I wanted to thank him again, just because the way he was living his life and what he was doing really inspired me to just go try it.
Yeah.
Now I have this opportunity with Bellator, which is one of the biggest MMA organizations in the world, and so now we're friends on Facebook, and he wrote back, and and I was like, my sister lives in Vegas, so like the next time I go out there, I'm gonna hit him up, try to meet up with him, and just have lunch with him to just like just vibe, not like, oh, let's go train, bro, let's go fuck some shit up. It's just because it's on another level when you're inspired by somebody to go do something that really impacts your life. It's like that's a big deal, and it goes beyond the fact that I'm a fighter or that I'm fighting on Bellator, because it was a life-changing decision, because had I not made the decision, we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
I wouldn't have had the opportunities I have had in the fight game that I've had over the last years. I wouldn't have met the people that I meet. My son wouldn't be doing jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of things that wouldn't have happened had I not made that decision.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I just, and knowing what I know now, being in the position that I am, like you mentioned, one of the coaches at the dojo for your girls in jiu-jitsu, I would like to impact somebody like that, and I'm sure I probably have. We can get into those stories later, but the mentality I have now, it was. I wanted to give credit where credit was.
It's like that was that spark. I actually, if I look back to it, the spark for me was. Do you remember Tap Out? Mm-hmm. They had a TV show, and they were basically on a bus going to different gyms, looking for prospects and sponsoring them.
That's where they found Cerrone.
Exactly. And so back then, I was just like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the little t-shirt thing kind of connected. But, MMA at that time was, completely swamped with Tap Out and other things. So
SkullandBonesFightGear.com.
That's exactly it.
They'll beat your ass for money.
I'll talk to you all about that, but that's exactly what I saw. I was like, there's chains, there's skulls, there's blood. And I'm like, this is also I know it's a blood sport. I know that it is a fight, but martial arts is way more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Way more.
Well, the MMA is more than fighting, and I try to explain that to a lot of people, especially with young guys. I've seen the MMA shift because I started as an amateur. So, it got legalized in California for MMA, and then shortly after, CAMO came in, California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Organization came in to oversee the amateur MMA. California Athletic Commission created this body to overlook it. Anyway, so, and you're having dudes that are, oh, I'm an amateur fighter, and they're just doing like some crappy training, but I I was in it long enough, and I saw the shift change where amateur fighters started training like pros. It's like, oh, you're an amateur, so then you train this way because you're only fighting for 2 or 3 minutes. But they started training like the pros. So I saw the shift change,
which is still happening.
It's the amateur is still evolving, but also what I've seen is the martial art get lost in MMA over the course of I've been fighting since 2011, sanctioned fights. I have a few fights, underground fights, but the martial art aspect is kind of lost. It's getting drowned out because it's there's fighters and there's mixed martial arts fighters.
Right.
So if there's more to fighting than fighting because it's still a martial art. Yeah. There's more to fighting than fighting because if you have a job, you got to go to work.
Yeah.
If you want to go train, it costs money. You got to have the money. You got to have the car. You got to have the transportation. You got to have the time available to go train. You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna go be a fighter. Dude, okay, yeah, but it takes a lot to get there.
Right.
It's just not something you do overnight. Something you do in 6 months, especially if you don't got no experience. You got to get your jiu-jitsu right. You got to get your grappling right, wrestling, your stand-up. There's a lot that goes into it, So, I always tell people there's more to fighting than fighting because the real fight happens outside of the gym, outside of the training, outside of the fight itself. It's getting to the gym because for some people it's a challenge just to get to the gym.
Right.
If you don't get to the gym, you don't train.
It's not going to be a good show.
Nope, it's not. It's going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people, I think.
Well, it's cool that you bring it up too, because I think sometimes as a fan, which is kind of the perspective that I kind of feel like I'm on the outside looking in, and a lot of times, people just want to play matchmaker and like this guy versus that guy. Like, how come he doesn't fight next month? Like, I want to see it, but it's like these guys have lives,
right.
From their family to, like you said, just even the training involved and I've always kind of kept this in mind where the best fighter can be good, but he needs to keep those tools sharp.
Oh yeah,
which means you gotta just stay on it. It's a lifestyle that you need to do.
It's definitely even just jiu-jitsu itself is a lifestyle. Being an athlete is a lifestyle. Yeah. You know what I mean? People give pro wrestlers a lot of flack because it's fake.
Right.
But yes, the matches are predetermined. The whole it's a big ass soap opera.
Right.
But the athleticism involved, to keep going at the rate that they do, it is a lifestyle. So. For guys who, like we'll use Donald Cerrone for an example. As far as I know, the dude ain't got no kids, which is great. He set his life up to be in the position that he is in now.
Right.
He's got his structure. He knows what he's got to do. And then you got guys like, even John Jones has a family.
Or Chris Weidman, I think, is somebody who comes to mind because he's got the kids. He just got a dog, for example. Like, he's a total family man.
Well, yeah. So you have the fighter or the mixed martial arts fighter who is just all they have to worry about is training.
Yeah.
Then you have the fighter, which I relate to more of. Because they have a wife, they have kids, they have a family, they have these outside responsibilities that they have to take into consideration and make part of their regimen, when they're getting ready for a fight. And so, you have to have a structure regardless of at what level you're at. If you're just beginning, you still got to have a structure. If you're, a regional fighter, you still have to have a structure. If you're an amateur, you have to have a structure. Pro, you got to have a structure. So, there's a lot that goes into fighting than just going to the gym and punching somebody, because that ain't what it's all about.
Right. Oh no, I think that's why I have the utmost respect. When I wrestled, it was, everyone would agree it was right next to like soccer, just as far as how hard it was. But then I think it was even a little extra harder because we're in a heater, from not eating well because you're losing weight or whatever the case may be. And it's like you guys then go in there and go to a fight where you're gonna get punched and get tired and all of these things for not that much money. So it's like the passion is huge. The reward is it's like the highest high and the lowest low, and let's lead to that. Now with your record, obviously there's no secret you've had a rough road, but now you have this huge opportunity at Bellator where you're gonna fight someone against their camp is AKA.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, so I'll be fighting Justin Tenedor from AKA.
Cool.
I have a little history with AK. I fought.
That was your very last fight, right?
My last fight was against Nohelin Hernandez, Josh Hernandez. Anyway, so yeah, I fought him. I lost. So it's even funny too because my head coach Sensei Jason, his son fought him when he was an amateur.
No way.
Yeah, so there was a little history there. But rough road MMA wise as far as in my pro career. But my standpoint, for me is like MMA doesn't define me. It never has. This is something I just wanted to try because again I didn't want to regret not trying it.
Right.
But so whether I'm 0-3, 3-0, 2-7, 7-8, that it doesn't define me. And a lot of people I think they get caught up in letting letting their MMA record define them. Now I can see to a certain extent if this is what they want to do as a career because
if you put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah, you want to have the wins, because if you're constantly losing or you're having crappy performances, nobody's really going to want to pick you up. Fortunately for me, it goes back to the martial arts. Your character, my character. A lot of people still want me on their cards at the regional level. And I don't. And I know where I'm at, and I know where I'm at in the pecking order, so to speak. But as far as the fight goes, it's I get the opportunity to get one back. Because fighting Justin Tinadora from AKA. So there's a nice little backstory there. Again, nothing malicious, but for competitively,
for sure.
We get to I get to try to get one back, and to do it on Bellator, it's even better.
Oh, it's amazing.
Do it in San Jose, where AK is based out of.
That's true.
Hey, it's even better. You know what I'm saying? And again, there's nothing malicious with it. But that's just the way the cookie crumbled.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big believer in huge believer in everything happens for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
And I find it as such a blessing that to have this opportunity, because Bellator's huge. I mean, obviously there's UFC and then there's Bellator that's only getting better. Mm-hmm. And something rings in my head when I was wrestling that my coach told me. He's like, and this goes with, you could have all the achievements in the world, you could have your losses, you could have whatever. You're only as good as your last performance. So It was always something that kind of kept me making sure that I kept sharp, looking forward to my next one, because that's the most important one that counts. Upon getting a win, it's almost like everything else gets erased. You got a whole fresh start.
Yeah.
And here's a little call out for Inside BJJ. You were on their podcast recently, and you mentioned how ultimately, basically, that was a great podcast, by the way. So call out to them, and they're over here in Stockton. Is that right?
Yeah, yep. Inside BJJ, they run a podcast weekly out of Stockton. They're actually one of my sponsors. I know, I've met one of the hosts sometime back, and then I just recently met the other host, Tim.
And they're from there too.
From Stockton?
Yeah, because I remember in the podcast they were talking about back in the day and everything.
Yeah, no, they're from Stockton. That's where I'm from, born and raised. I go by the Mudville Slugger. Mudville used to be what Stockton was referred to.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I'm from San Jose originally,
okay,
but hey, no malice, right? It's all love.
Oh no, it's all good, yo. But yeah, I was on their podcast last week.
Yeah,
so.
And when you guys were talking, I was kind of just thinking back, and that's where I was just kind of putting the pieces, and I was like, I put myself in other people's shoes a lot of the times, and I'm like, okay, I mean, this is just such a huge opportunity, and I'm just excited for you because
Thank you.
It's all about right now. You know, you got to live for today, and with this opportunity with them. It's just gonna. I don't know. I have a good feeling about it. Let's say, but in that podcast, you also mentioned you want to keep pretty busy this year.
Yeah. So my there was a point in time in this fight that I didn't have an opponent.
What was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get a message from my opponent. He's really respectful. He's a really respectful kid. He messaged me that, he's gonna pull out of the fight. And I'm like, damn, that sucks. Okay. Then it was confirmed by Bellator later on that evening, and it was the Wednesday before the Tito and Chael fight.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, they're gonna be hella busy. I know that. So I just, had to be patient and see, what we can do. So, I had this, great opportunity to fight on Bellator. Then it's like, oh, I don't have it anymore. Shoot. But at the end of the day, my goal didn't change, which I was still going to fight the first quarter of this year, and do my goal is to do 3, maybe 4 fights if I can pull it.
That's busy.
If I can pull it off.
That's
but
busy.
but even if not, jiu-jitsu, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and I've been doing that for a while, and I have a strong passion for it, and that's what really drives me to to make sure that I have a solid character, because I represent jiu-jitsu, I represent the dojo, I represent myself and my family, and I want to make sure I'm a good representation, and and fly this flag for not only martial arts, but for jiu-jitsu. Just because of how it's impacted me, and I found a groove where I mix the martial arts aspect with my Christian belief aspect, my faith in God, and everything's working out. Whatever I'm doing, it's working out because I have opportunities like this, to talk to people and network. I have a huge network. But yeah, so I want to stay busy, whether it's MMA or jiu-jitsu.
Well, jiu-jitsu events are starting to kind of be on the rise. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot going on now, especially with Fight to Win Pro, or Seth Daniels has a pretty good setup going on. There's I can't think of the other name. There's a few jiu-jitsu promotions out there that they're doing the submission only matches or 10-minute matches, whatever it is, but they're basically, it's not like your tournament like Naga's a very prominent tournament, North American Grappling Association. I've competed there several times. My son has too. My son does jiu-jitsu, but this it's kind of on a bigger scale where the jiu-jitsu fighters are what's the word I'm looking for? Damn it, I had it in my head and they're focused. The focal point is on the two combatants.
Sure.
That are battling. It's not where it's just a tournament and you're watching 20 dudes in a bracket.
Right, going all at it.
Yeah,
Well, just kind of like I don't know if I figure you have like EBI being on Fight Pass. I mean, that alone is just good exposure just for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because it could be very exciting, but obviously the big populace of people don't know grappling too much.
You have to understand what grappling is in order to really appreciate it. And maybe that's something that the fans can start to take a look at.
I mean, it's the biggest human, or that's what they say, human chess game you could think of. There's so much going on all the time. You have to be alert. You have to be focused. The whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why I love the sport. I mean, it's the most entertaining for me, but the more I think people learn about the ground and the different martial arts, I mean, because it's just all of them mixed together. Some have jiu-jitsu bases, some have Muay Thai bases, and then it's like, what's going to happen when these two clash?
So this is what's happening now is the point karate style, the taekwondo style starting to come. Well, it's not starting.
Lyoto, I think, had his nice little run, and it was there.
But
and then it went away.
Well, no, but look at Wonder Boy. You got Wonder Boy.
He's bringing it back. Connor's got the white stance.
Yeah, he's got that stance. But you look at there's a lot more movement that you or even Michael Venom Page is a good example. In Bellator too. He's a lot of his stuff was point karate. So it's ironic that the martial arts disciplines that have kind of got forgotten about are kind of making their way back in. because you basically, it's like Bruce Lee said, you take what works for you, throw the rest away.
Yeah.
What I'm saying? That, and there you find ways to make, like I'm doing a lot more movement. I'm doing a lot more footwork with what I've been doing. Because before, I would just, a little bit of head movement, but I'll stay in the pocket and we'll just throw just so I can do my thing. I'll take 5 to get 2, and that's probably not a good idea to do. But now it's like, movement, more movement. One of my buddies, Kai Wu, came out. He's really good at movement. And footwork. He kind of has a dominant cruise, TJ Dillashaw style.
Oh yeah, I mean,
what I'm saying. So
nice.
I want, it's great, that I can network with guys like that have different styles, because you have to adapt to different styles.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You got to look at it, and you got to try to deal with it.
You have to evolve too. Not that my evolution is like I'm going to be it's just going to change everything for me, but just personally, it helps me deal with those types of situations.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I mean, I followed the sport for a long time, and obviously every fighter's story is a little bit different, but I don't, you tell me if you agree or not. The 10-year mark, it's like when a fighter has a 10-year of experience, it's like they sometimes turn over that new leaf. Like, whoa, what happened? Now they're on this, like the whole new fighter. They're starting to finish fights, or they're, it's kind of like they move into this new phase where the experience is ingrained, and it's a little more natural out there. Do you think you kind of are at that point because you're at your 10-year mark?
Yeah.
Never thought about it?
I haven't really thought about it. I mean, it's there's a lot that comes with the experience. A lot of it's muscle memory. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
like I think to turning over the new leaf. I got my problem a lot was always like having a primary stand-up coach. Because it's just early on when I started training, I really took to the grappling aspect. I really it just felt natural, and I liked it. And a lot of my fights that I won early in my amateur career, well, a lot of it was shooting and getting a guy on the ground and controlling him and trying to do it from there. Then jiu-jitsu is a natural progression to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now that I've structured myself in a way to now I can have a stand-up coach. Working on these different things. I guess you can say you can turn over. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But you can teach an old dog new tricks.
You sure can.
Except the dog has to be open to
it,
because some people they get stuck in their own way.
Right.
And sometimes there's some habits you have to break. You know what I mean? And
well, BJ Penn said something recently actually, and he basically said when the student is ready, the coach will appear, and it's kind of exactly that. When you're available to open up your mind and say, I need to learn more and continue to evolve, your body and your mind will go along with that thought.
Yeah, that's it's the light bulb started to go off because I know where I stand. Like I know my strong point is grappling and jiu-jitsu. I know that's my strong point. My weaker side was always been my stand-up. So I'm always like, kind of questioning my stand-up and like, and just get in there and let's do the drills and don't worry about it.
Right.
But light bulbs started to go off a couple of weeks ago. And it's really hard. It's just like when
a couple weeks ago. That's very recent.
Yeah. Just because in sparring I started to see it. I was like, I'm moving here and doing this stuff and
connecting it to the grappling, would you say?
No, not connected to the
or
grappling.
Or just your stand-up in general?
Just my stand-up in general. These certain things we've been working on. And, I wasn't getting hit very much. Whereas I remember coming out of, early on coming out of, sparring sessions just beat up. My legs are sore. My face is sore. I got a black eye. And it's not saying that, I'm not going to get hit. But just, just that week I was on, what I'm saying? Because some weeks you're on, some weeks you're off. Just like in the fight. One fight you can be on, the next fight something just happens, you're flat for whatever reason. You never know any given Sunday, right?
Right.
But, that I think there, are, fighters, once, they get to a certain point, the experience is there, but they can still learn new stuff.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
If they're willing to,
If
right?
they're willing to, if
Very
they're
good.
willing to.
So you're feeling good, huh?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm excited,
Well, it's February 18th. We got, that's what, 2.5 weeks?
Yeah.
So we're getting closer. Well, let me let everybody know, too. If you guys don't have your tickets, like I got mine right here.
Supporting the local fighter.
Yeah. The offer code Reyes, Reyes. I'll put it on the screen there, too. Go ahead. Roque Reyes is going to be at BELLATOR 172, February 18th. I mean, I'm truly excited for it. Like I said, I don't know if I said it here, but we talked about it before. I don't see fighters as having careers. I see it as a journey. Every fight, every experience that you get is only to add, and I think that's how life is, and maybe that's the connection of martial arts and fighting.
But no, it definitely is a journey, because I've grown so much. If looking at, I've gone through highs and some really bad lows, and then just to get to where I'm at, to be the person I am today. With who I am, it took a lot of pain to get there.
Yeah.
When I first started training, I was at a local spot, I was trying to find, spots to go to, and, making sure it's the right one for me, because, what might be right for him might not be right for me. What works for you might not work for me.
Right.
You got to find where it feels right for you. So I was at a spot, and, it was cool, but then, people started leaving, and I kind of felt like I wanted something more, like there was something missing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I went to this other place, and it was cool for a minute, but then, that's where, the dark part of my life was, the darkest part of my days was during that time, and it just got to a point like, man, I was in a bad spot with some bad people. I just needed to remove myself, get myself back together. So I went my separate way from that spot. And just worked to get my life back together, and then I started feeling that itch, like, man, I want to compete again. And talk to my wife, she's like, yeah, that's fine, all right, let's go for it. So I slowly started getting back in. I did a grappler's quest at UFC 100, and then shortly after that, I started to go to hit up a couple people that I knew, and then I ended up at Sencal MMA, and Moses. Ironic last name's Cortez too. Moses Cortez. He's been around.
That was a good sign.
Yeah, he's been around for a while. He's from back in the days, and so started training with him and that team, and that's kind of where I just started. That's like where.
Started feeling in the right place. It started feeling right.
Well, I was on the that part of my journey where things started to really go up, and and kind of it was all the bad stuff that was so far back. I went through it, took my time off, recollected myself, and then it just started. That at that point is where it started going up. That's where I started meeting a lot of good people. I was one of the most active fighters in the area. I was fighting 2 times a month. I fought 5 or 6 times in 8 months, where people only fight 2 or 3 times. I just wanted to fight. I just wanted to compete. It's like, my window of opportunity was small, and I just went, full steam ahead. And, and it got me, then I ended up, the gym ended up closing down, and I had to, find somewhere else out. But one of my teammates knew Sensei Jason and his wife at Cortez Martial Arts through wrestling, because their son wrestles, and my training partner, he used to do some stuff with Stag, and just that wrestling community. It's just like martial arts. It's kind of small. People know the same people, have mutual friends. Well, at the time, one of the coaches or instructors at Cortez Martial Arts was started to come over to Sencal to help with the stand-up, and then we cornered some fighters at an ECS show, and that's where I met Sensei Jason, because he had a guy on the card, which was the guy that used to come cross train. So it's like, hey, you want to come out and train? That's cool. Come out, fight his no-gi. So I started going over there, but even in that fight is where I met some of the guys that are now part of this big cross training network that I'm a part of.
Wow.
So a lot happened at that point. So anyway, Sencal, had to shut down, and then I was running a grappling class over there. My son was part of that too, and so then the instructor that was coming back and forth, we became good friends, and then that led into me now being part of the dojo, which has been 4.5 years. I just
wow. And obviously now this is the new dojo, which is fantastic. I mean, I love the new place.
Yeah, I mean,
because before there was obviously a smaller place.
Yeah,
over
it was
here
definitely
in,
smaller, and Sensei Jason, he wanted to do something great, and it's a full-on MMA facility.
Yeah, it's great.
It's huge. It's
like I said, I mean, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I truly feel when people are in the right place and the right mindset. I mean, I think it's the mind that really makes things happen somehow, some way. And if you're in the right place, I kind of feel the same. It's like ever since I've kind of had a little closer focus and kind of taken away things that are a little distracting, not important, you know, then things just kind of tend to happen, and you meet the right people. And
yeah, you know, it's removing distractions, and it's having positivity. Having a positive attitude is everything.
Yeah.
If I had a crappy attitude, yeah, I wouldn't get very far, because
No.
I'd be like, oh, fuck this ain't working. Or, you know, I always, you know, have to be, you know, positive, and, you know, if there's a problem, I got to figure it out. I have too much to lose, you know, with, you know, my wife, my kids, the bills, the mortgage, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just be like, whatever, forget it. I'm just gonna go somewhere far.
it's like getting angry or frustrated or any negative feelings aren't gonna fix anything.
Right. You know,
So-
you can get mad at some stuff. There's definitely things that frustrate me.
Sure,
you know
those
what
are
I'm saying?
feelings. They're human.
Yeah, it's human, but what are you gonna do about it? You know what?
Right.
You know, what do I got to do? Like, you know, my stand-up was never really that. Well, okay, what do I got to do about that? I got to go find some stand-up somewhere. And now I found it, and, you know, we're flowing with it. You know what I mean? But you just have to, you know, attitude is everything. And then, yeah, you have a positive attitude. You're respectful. You treat people correctly. You know, good things are gonna happen.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and although, you know, I'm 0-3 as a professional mixed martial arts fighter, there's a lot of good that's happened in my journey as a mixed martial arts fighter.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? I have a huge network of friends, fighters. You know, people still want to see me fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's because I'm not an asshole.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, if I was a jerk, no, I wouldn't want to go watch fight. You're an asshole.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you mean?
Or-
You know what I'm saying? So
You just
it's
don't want to
like-
work with you, period.
Yeah, you know,
that's
and
it.
you know, people, you know, they get diva syndrome, and they think that they're bigger than they are.
Right, right.
But you got to have a positive attitude, and that makes a difference in everything.
And that's all aspects of life. I mean,
Yep.
I've seen a lot of fighters as they go through their careers, and it always ends up in people grow out of it. Martial arts teaches them so much about life in general.
Yeah.
And like you said at the beginning, it's not just about the fight. It's so much else that kind of goes into it. You mentally have to be healthy. Obviously, physically, you need to be healthy. It's the whole 9 yards. It's the best sport in the world, if you ask me. But Rocky, I guess we'll end it right here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. February 18th, if you guys haven't got tickets yet, the offer code is Reyes, Reyes. And best of luck, brother.
Thank you.
I'll
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah, thank you. Get your tickets, guys. Support your local fighter. You know what I mean? You know, this is how some of us make money, or we make extra money. You know what I mean? So it definitely means a lot to have the support of the people there, man. So thank you very
And
much.
enjoy
for
the
your
show,
time. Hey,
right?
yeah.
It's going to be a good one in San
gonna be
Jose. I'll be there, so if anyone sees this, we'll see you. And
Yep.
until next time, peace.